One.
Hey, my name is Luciano Gonzalez. I'm a writer for Patheos Atheist at SynGod, and I've been trying to make a video for a little while now. Not too long, but the past hour. And I think it's on a very important topic. I want to talk about the and what I think are the interests of the non-Christian Latin American community. I'm using Latin American as a catch-all to describe people from Latin America and people descended from people from Latin America, if you're interested in why I'm using that specific wording. But I think that we have vested interests which are similar. And the main vested interest that I think that we have that is similar is asking for representation. And the reason why I think that this is the case is because we have very little representation. And by representation, I mean both voices in news media, at the very least in English, and representation by characters who are fictional but are from Latin America or are descended from people from Latin America who think like we do. As far as I'm aware, the vast majority of Latin American characters are either overtly Christian or are assumed to be Christian. And one of the only, I think the only character that I can think of where I know that this character is not Christian, who is Latin American, is Oscar from The Office. And in a deleted scene, he was confirmed to have been written as a secular humanist. The scene was deleted for reasons that I don't know. It's possible the information's out there. But yeah, he's a non-believer. And he is, I mean, I could probably think of some like magic using characters who are Latin American and probably aren't Christian, but they've never been overtly stated to be something other than Christian, as far as I'm aware. Basically, the vast majority of Latin Americans on TV and Hollywood, as in fictionally, are believers, and that's not real, or not just believers, but are specifically Christian, and that is kind of problematic because that's not reflective of all of Latin America. More and more people in Latin America and from Latin America living in other places like the United States are slowly either becoming irreligious or becoming believers in something else. And it's important that those people get representation. It's important that I, as a non-believer, see a Latin American character who doesn't believe, and it's important that a Latin American Wiccan sees someone who is a believer in that religion and a practitioner of that belief system who looks like them. And it like this is something that's really obvious, but it's something that very few people have tapped into. A show where I personally think a good example could happen is either East Los High, which is a Hulu original, or Jane the Virgin, which is just a show that lots of people know about. And I think it would be really cool to see characters in either of those shows who are played by Latin American actors be be open about the fact that they don't believe in Christianity and believe in something else or don't believe at all like I do. And I think that would be really neat. And that's only one of the vested interests that I think that we share. But another vested interest is changing how people in the United States and in other countries, especially in other English speaking countries, think about Latin America in terms of religion. This assumption that everyone's Christian, even if the majority of people are Christian, is harmful to people who aren't and want to be involved in national and international conversations. I think that if we all work together to combat this assumption, then things would slowly start to change. I think that by working together, we can be stronger than we are apart. And I definitely think that there are Latin Americans who are Christian who would be willing to come and help us, who understand that this isn't reflective of the reality that we live in and that we deserve representation and that we deserve respect. And let's call it a seat at a conversation that's happening worldwide about religiosity and about the faces of certain religions. Because I'm sure if you asked a lot of people what the face of Catholicism was, they would probably think of Latin American, especially now since, the Pope is Latin American. And while that's really cool for Latin Americans who are Catholics, I can't think of any other religion where the majority of the practitioners or at the very least, any other major religion where the majority of the practitioners are Latin American. I can't think of any other, I can't even think of any other type of church where the majority, or if you thought of the church, you would probably think of a Latin American. And I think that really sucks because some of my favorite non believers are Latin American. And they're really cool. They're really interesting voices to listen to out there who are Muslim, who are Latin American. And I can only imagine that it would be the same way for other religions, that there are speakers out there who are Latin American who believe in other faiths aside from Christianity and Islam and atheism, although atheism isn't a religion, who would be really cool voices and deserve to be more well known than they are. And I think that by coming together and working together and creating content together, we can begin to popularize voices that deserve to be popularized, who are Latin American and who are believers in other things and other lesser known religions and in irreligious attitudes towards life. I think that we all have vested interests, which mean that we should work together and that we should listen to each other and that we should respect each other and that we should try to help each other succeed. And if you agree, I would love to know. If you have any ideas on how we can start to do this, I would also love to know. One thing that I'm thinking of doing, if this video gets a popular reception, is that I'm thinking of creating a group where, like a Facebook group, for instance, where people who are non-Christian and are Latin American content creators through stuff like YouTube or just bloggers in general can go and can display their content. And then we can have people who aren't people who don't want to create content but just want to see the content that's created can go onto this group and they can see your content, whether it's videos or blogs or photography or whatever, and they can just react to it. And it can be a chance for all of us to expand our audiences and for us to come together and create unique new narratives that deserve to be heard, narratives that should by all accounts exist but don't, because representation is something which gets in the way. But if we come together, we can change that. So if you're interested in hearing more about this in the future, or if you're interested in just being a part of this, then let me know. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.